This is INCRadio, BCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Hello!
Hola!
Bonjour.
Konnichiwa.
Ni hao.
Ciao!
Annyeonghaseyo.
Mabuhay!
Welcome to Washington State.
Explore the sights. Discover new things.
Appreciate the arts, music, and food.
Travel to new places.
Meet the people.
Make new friends.
In other words,
come
home with us.
Come home with us.
This is INC Radio Seattle, Washington.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone tuning in. My name is Sister Mikranza, and you are watching INC Radio Seattle. We are so excited for today's broadcast because our topic today is snow much fun snowboarding. Here in Washington State, the snow is coming in, and we have so many winter sports and activities going on. So today we're going to be focusing on snowboarding. So let us know in the comments down below if you like to snowboard or if you're a skier. Let us know what team you're on. And as well, we'd love for everyone to interact in today's show. So let us know where you're tuning in from using your local congregation's hashtag. Just put a hashtag on your keyboard and then type in your local congregation's name, enter in the chat below, and that'll enter you into our hashtag contest for our broadcast. And next week, we'll go ahead and announce who the participation winners are. We're going to go ahead and announce last year. No, we're already 2 weeks in, right? I'm so lost. We're already so deep into 2025. If I haven't already greeted you, Happy New Year and Happy 2025. So we're going to go ahead and read last week's winners for the hashtag competition according to your local congregation. So in third place, drum roll, we had the local congregation of Bellingham. Congrats, Bo. We want to see you in the comments again. Will you get to first place? We will see. In second place, we have the local congregation of Everett. And in first place, drum roll, we have the local congregation of Marysville. So thank you so much for our top 3 congregations that have been tuning in and leaving their corresponding hashtags below. We want to see who's going to be up there on the charts for next week. We also have the top brethren participating, which I think is super cool. So shout out for our number 3 top brethren is Brother Tristan Monforte from the local congregation of Tacoma. Thank you so much for tuning in all the time and commenting and participating. Next, we have Sister Jessica Pangilanan. Sorry if I butchered the last name, from the local congregation of Bellingham. And in first place, our top commenter is Sister Melanie Moravia from the local congregation of Marysville. So thank you so much, Bo, for tuning into our shows, being our top contributors every single week. We appreciate you so much. We do all of our shows for all of our guests tuning in today. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. So like I was saying before, our topic is snow much fun snowboarding, and we have a lovely guest. We love to see his face very often. If you can guess who it is, comment down below who you think it is, but I'll go ahead and introduce him really quickly. And just in case if you haven't met him before, brother, go ahead and introduce what local you're from. So introducing Brother Lester. Round of applause.
Hi, Brother Lester. I'm from Seattle. Yeah,
Shout out to Brother
it's
Lester.
me again.
If you love seeing Brother Lester on INC Radio, comment down below if you're his #1 fan. We can also do a competition for that. Who is your #1 fan here on INC Radio? So thank you so much for joining us once again. You're a man of many hobbies and talents and things like that. And one of them we've learned recently is that you are very into snowboarding. So that's why we have you on for today's show. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Again, if you're tuning in, feel free to contribute to the conversation, and we'd love to read some of your comments on air today. So we actually also have some photos from brethren around the district that also snowboard, ski, sled, love to be in the snow. So we'll have that playing at the same time. So Brother Lester, I'd love to know, when were you first introduced to snowboarding?
So actually, I'm like very, very new to snowboarding. I actually only started the very first time I went was last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've only went, so I'm very new. So I'm I don't know if I'm like very into snowboarding, but I'm like getting into it a lot now. And I've already been a couple times this year, and then planning on more already this year too. So started last year, very first time. Um, and yeah, that's I've actually only been 3 times, but I'm already looking into like buying my own gear now and doing it more often and making it
Cool.
kind of a normal hobby.
I love that. And then who was there a friend that introduced you to it, or were you like, I really want to go try to snowboard, like let's go?
Yeah, it is a I mean, I've lived here in this area forever since I was born, so all the time I have a lot of friends that always go and have always wanted me to go, but I just for whatever reason just never went until last year. So it was a friend that last year that invited me to go. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll finally just try it out." And the very first time was actually a terrible experience. I it was I learned very quickly. It was very hard. Um Super hard to learn. I feel like I was like on my feet for um not very long. I was on the ground like falling and getting up most of the time that day. And it was actually like the first time was actually pretty discouraging, but like so many of my friends go and so many of my friends would tell me like, oh, the first day is usually not fun or not great. So like uh it just made me want to just keep like if my all my friends know how to do it and can do it, it's like there's no way I can't learn. So like I always wanted to keep going and try again. And this year I went a couple times and I am starting to like learn now and get the concept of how it works. And I want to keep I think the more I go, the better I think I'm getting. So
Yeah, it's definitely one of those activities where you have to have a lot of patience and grace with yourself. Because I feel like a lot of things, I mean, we're not experts at everything, but a lot of like normal things that don't like have to deal with something being strapped to your body, you could usually like pick up or
hmm
understand the concept, but having something strapped to you and not being able to like, I guess like walk, um,
yeah.
is like can be super discouraging. So I started snowboarding. I would still consider myself like pretty like beginner. I'm like not anything crazy. I probably started snowboarding when I was maybe like 13 or 14-ish. My aunt, I remember we were outside and she had just gotten like a longboard or something, and I was like playing on that. I think that weekend we were already planning to go to the mountains or something like that. And my grandparents and my aunts and uncles ski and snowboard. And she was like, "Why don't you go try it with us?" Because usually, with my like my parents and my little brother, we would do the sledding and tubing, which I still love today. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I'd rather go do that than go snowboard sometimes. But that weekend I tried snowboarding, and I remember the next day my thighs being on fire because
hmm
you're just like squatting the whole time using your
It's a bunch of
whole
muscles,
body.
like yeah, you don't
Yeah.
ever have never used.
And then you have to like I feel like it's also like weirdly similar to Pilates in some ways, where you discover muscles on your body that you've never used before, or you have to like actually think about what muscles or movements you're doing. So
Mhm.
I'm like I've been seeing a lot of like jokes lately on the internet where it's like you really want to go snowboarding with your friends and you think it's gonna be like the coolest day ever, and then you get on the mountain and you're like, this is so
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. It was like very discouraging. I remember my first time. Was that your first time? Were you like almost like I want to quit or
So
like
I was like really young. So I feel like at the time I picked it up really easily, but as I've gotten older, it's getting harder because I don't go like that often. I'll go like once a year just to like go, but I'm not like avidly snowboarding. So I feel like I'm always reteaching myself, like how we went snowboarding about 2 weeks ago or so. And I was on social media looking up just like quick tips and tricks because I was like, I don't remember how to do any of this stuff. And so
Mhm.
then I'm always reteaching myself on the bunny slope because that's where it's at.
Yeah, the last time we went, I think the bunny slope was like at the most fun because I felt like I was a pro on the bunny slope.
Sometimes I feel like, how did you do when you ended up going on the mountain the first run compared? Because sometimes I feel like the bunny slope is nice, but when you get on the mountain, on the easier runs at least you have a little bit more of like a slope or like distance to keep trying compared to like hitting the bottom of the bunny slope and then having to walk back up or take
Yeah.
the magic out of it.
Yeah, so the last time we went, I think yeah, we hit the bunny slopes a few times and yeah, it is like a lot shorter, so you don't get like as much of practice. But then when you go like on a, more difficult slope or mountain, there's like a longer opportunity to like learn and really practice. So I think the last time it was good to like warm up on the bunny slopes, but then like to really get even more practice in. Um, yeah, the longer the higher, the more difficult mountain was, I think, was better. At least at my skill level now, it was better.
Love. We have some comments here in the chat. Brother Andrew says, I prefer snowboarding. It's safer with both legs on the board instead of one board for each leg. Hashtag Seattle. I have tried skiing once. I don't know if this is like a personal thing, but growing up, I also had like bad knees. I don't know why, but I could never like keep my legs straight on the skis. So like my knees go inward and it's personally, uh, it hurts me, but probably I just don't have strong enough knees. So I agree with you, Brother Andrew. And
I've
then
heard
we,
it's like the skiing and snowboarding is like they don't translate at all.
no.
Like the skills, it's like completely different.
No, yeah, not at all. And you would think, yeah, I think it's all personal preference too. Because like at least skis, you have like both legs for movement, but I feel like you have more things to think about now, because you have like more gear. Um, but yeah, we have other comments here. Brother Tristram says he hasn't tried yet, but he would love to try before the winter ends. Hashtag Tacoma. Yes, if you can, go ahead and try. It'd be a lot of fun. I also recommend for anyone that's just starting out, if you want to take a class, if that like ski resort offers them, do it. It's literally all ages. Don't ever be embarrassed that there's like little kids, because like everyone of all ages is trying to learn. And today I could probably benefit from learning from an expert than looking on social media for tips and tricks. Brother Von Torres says, getting into snowboarding was fun back in 2019. My sons Trey and Tyrell went up to Whistler, BC, Canada, and had a great intro with an instructor. He taught us a lot. Oh, see, perfect timing. Let us know your tips and tricks of what they learned in the comments below, because me and Brother Lester need it. Sister Jenny Martinez says, shout out to Brother Lester. He's actually a pretty good snowboarder, but is being humble. Don't let that trick you. He taught all of us. Hashtag Seattle.
I think she's joking.
I heard she's really good too, actually.
She says that, but she's also joking about that.
Brother Jess says, I prefer actual surfing, Brother Andrew, Santa Monica. It's what I grew up doing. So cool. I grew up in San Diego, and I've never actually snowboarded. I mean, surfed ever. I've done like boogie boarding, but again, like controlling a board is an insane talent. So props to everyone doing that. Um, but yeah, so you said you're interested in buying your own gear and things like that. When it comes to like the board and like the brackets and things like that, have you like really dove into like the research of it all? Because I feel like that part is so fun, because like there's some like style to it and preferences.
Yeah, and that was such a big thing too, learning. I think when I first went, I didn't even realize like that I had my boots and like bindings had to be like tight. Like we had to be one with the board. That was when I first went. I think the first couple times I went, like I didn't even realize that. So I had like
Are
no
you
control
goofy
over
or
the
regular?
board. Regular.
Regular. Okay. Let us know in the comments if you're goofy or regular. I'm regular too.
Yeah. But yeah, so like, I think that's probably the first thing I should have learned, or was like because I didn't, I just went with friends. I didn't know what I was doing, but that's really important, like your gear and like having it fit correctly. Um, but yeah, I think that's part of the cool thing I think about snowboarding too, is like the gear and like the fashion of it. And
Mhm.
I remember being at the mountain and just like looking at everyone's like jackets and their
Mhm.
board and their helmets and their goggles. And it's actually pretty expensive. There's so much
Mhm.
gear you have to snowboard, but at the same time, it's kind of cool.
It's fun.
It's really fun, yeah. So there's so many options and there's so many different styles. Like you can have pants, or you can have like a bib, or um, a lot of different styles. So like I'm definitely it is really expensive, so I'm like kind of taking my time with what I for sure want to get. But yeah, how about you? You bought a lot of stuff, or
So back home, I have my stuff. Actually, okay, so I have my own board and boots. I actually replaced my boots maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Because on my last snowboarding trip 2 or 3 years ago, after snowboarding, I looked down at my boots and like the bottoms were coming off, and I was like, these are so old and literally coming apart. But I think it also could have been the way you store your gear. You don't want like extra, like I guess like moisture, or if they get too like hot. So I'm pretty sure I kept mine in the garage and like the temperature wasn't regulated in there. So one, they were at least a decade old. And then two, I probably didn't keep them in the right like environment. So they were just falling apart. But I was excited to get a new pair of boots. And I'd recommend for anyone learning snowboarding, one, like test it out, see if you like it. And then usually during like off season, you'll find a lot of things on sale. um I can't figure out the right word for it, but there's usually like a lot of like warehouse sales you can go and find, and they'll have a lot of boards and just like gear and like demos. So I'd recommend like shopping in the off season um for better priced gear. And so being in Washington, I don't have anything with me. So I did buy a new pair of pants because I'm pretty sure all of my pants are probably too small for me anyway. So I was excited to get a new pair of pants, but I really do need to find a good jacket because when we went snowboarding a couple weeks ago, I did just layer up. So I was warm, but I was not waterproof whatsoever. So anytime I fell, like by the time we left, I'm pretty sure I could wring out water from my sweatshirt. And just like, since you're falling a lot, you're going to be landing obviously in the snow and like leaning on your arms. So yeah, it's just not a great experience to be wet and cold at the end of the day. And then if you're trying to decide between like snow pants or a bib, the nice thing about a bib, or they're kind of like overalls, is that if you fall, you don't get like snow in your pants because it goes all the way up. So there's a lot of things to consider. But down the road, if I do really stick to snowboarding, I'd love to get a cute new board because like I feel like when you're like walking around the resort and you see everyone's boards, and you're like, that's so nice. Like I want one of my own. So I'm probably going to be saving up in the next few years if I want to replace that.
Yeah, people have like their board, their jacket, their like pants, their helmet, like everything's color coordinated, like it's all one theme. It's like, oh, that's so cool.
That is like, I know, I get jealous.
Like,
And then
wow, it's like a
like, you get into it.
fashion.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fashion show a little bit, and you get to have like some fun and expression with it. And then one tip is when you are shopping for those types of things to do bright colors or patterns so that if you ever do get lost or get hurt on a mountain, you don't want to blend in with the snow, of course. So safety first, as always. And then we also have some more comments here from Sister Candace says, I did snowboarding in my backyard during snow. Hashtag Tacoma. That's so cool. I love when you have like it snows and then you bring out your sleds and you could just like have fun doing that. But crazy that you're able to snowboard. And then Brother Von Torres says, when snowboarding, remember heel/toe and don't forget to warm up before and stretch out afterwards. That is a great tip. I'm really bad at getting on my toes, but I'm really good at heels. I really want to learn how to get on my toes this season. And definitely just like any other sport should be stretching before and after. Are you doing that, Brother Lester? Because I'm not, and I really should be.
No, I should. I learned that the last time I went. So I'm like the opposite of you. I'm like always on my toes. I'm like I
Jealous.
need to learn my heels more. But also like the stretching thing, like I don't know if it's the same for you or anyone else, but like even just when I go on the ground to like put on my like to tighten my bindings or
Reach
put on
down.
like yeah, it's like it takes so much effort from me, and I think I'm just not flexible and stretchable enough to to bend
You need to
down.
be able to touch your
So
toes. And then you
yeah,
have
so
all
I
the
think
gear on, so you're like puffy and
yes.
thicker.
So even worse. So like I even like I've been kind of even mindful in the gym, like, okay, I need to like stretch my hamstrings out and my legs out so that like, the next time I'm out snowboarding, it's not as bad or it's not as hard.
Yeah, definitely. My board back home, it's a different binding where like the ones we had were like clip-ins, and so you like obviously like clip them and then you like wind them up a little bit. Um, so those are like the most normal ones, but I have ones that like I just stick my foot in and then I have a clamp on the back and I just pull it up and I'm like good to go. So it's a lot less
Oh.
steps. So things to consider, you could like test out when you're shopping, because there's different style of boots, even some of the traditional lace up, or I think it's called like a type of snake. Is it a viper or something like that? Where the boots we had at our rentals, which is like you just stick your foot in, click the knob, like the knob on the top, and then twist it up really
Oh, it's
quick.
like the boa
Yeah, the
boa
boa. I
something.
was like,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
snake of some
Boa
sort.
system.
A boa. So there's definitely different ways. And just, I think it's personal preference for anyone that's shopping around. Brother Patrick says, pick it for his snowboarding tip. Is pick a day when there's new snow. If it's icy, crunchy, it makes snowboarding no fun. Falling on ice, no bueno. And 100% agree. When we went snowboarding a couple weeks ago, when we first started, it was complete ice and it hurt a lot at one point. So I didn't pay attention to what run I was on, and I'm pretty sure, I don't think it was a black diamond, which is the hardest level you could go down on a mountain. It was probably something under that, but when it was so steep, it was my first run. I was not ready to go down, and it was still icy, and I was too scared to go down. So I was kind of just like going down my butt, and it was so icy that I was just like sliding, like straight sledding down the mountain, and it was so scary. But within an hour, it was snowing and it was perfect powder. And so falling didn't hurt as much. So that was lovely. So definitely agree that you need to have some cushion to fall on. But yeah, so far, how many different like mountains have you visited? Do you have a favorite one so far
I've
out of
only
your
been
three
to
trips?
two.
Mhm. Oh,
Yeah, I've
okay,
only
got
been to Snoqualmie, and then there's the one, other most recent one was Crystal, which was like actually really, really like actually so much. I feel like so much better than Snoqualmie. Like the
it.
snow was better, just everything was better. Like the views were nicer,
Oh, really?
the
Oh, that's
runs
good.
felt nicer, but it is like almost twice as expensive for
Mhm.
like the
Oh,
lift
yeah.
ticket.
Yeah, the lift
Um,
tickets can be pricey.
Lift tickets are
Um,
pricey, yeah.
yeah. So definitely if you're someone that's really into it, maybe get like a ski lift season pass or something like that. Because I think if you go a couple times, it definitely pays off. Um, but yeah, so there's a lot of different factors when it comes to price of the ski lift passes, whether it's like location, distance, how big the mountains are. But there's so many nice mountains and resorts in Washington, is what I'm finding. So at least you have different options here, which is really cool. And then would you have any tips, Brother Lester, for anyone that's also starting? I know you just started yourself and we went over a couple things, but is there anything that you think we haven't mentioned just yet?
Um, you kind of mentioned, I think if you are able to do lessons, I wish I did that, and
You
if you're able
still
to afford
can
it,
because we
I
should
still can,
go.
yeah. I definitely would have done that, or like friends that can, if you're, I was able to, we had friends that was willing to help
Mhm.
me. So if you have friends that know how and are willing to like go with you and help you and spend time with you, I think that's good because I think I couldn't even imagine just going there and not having any friends that would help you and you're just going down not knowing anything or even I watched a ton of YouTube videos and I think feel like the first time that didn't help me at all.
You forget
Um
everything.
yeah, you forget everything like yeah, so I think that would be my tips.
Yeah, definitely travel with friends or family that are willing to teach you. I went with some of my closest friends like about a year or two ago, and we went, and all great girls, but we were so excited to get to the top of the mountain. And one of our friends, like, first time snowboarding, so we were like, we'll just bring her up. It was a bad decision. Like, we should have taken like at least an hour to teach her the basics. The foundations are everything for anything you're ever learning, especially a snow sport foundations. You need to get those down. And again, I'm always reminding myself or trying to relearn by looking up tips on social media, or I should just go finally take a class or something like that. But thank you so much for sharing all your insights. We can't wait. I want to do a check-in with you in like a year or so to see where your snowboarding journey has taken you. But do you have any shout outs for today?
Um Shout out uh shout out to all the brethren or the or friends I've gone snowboarding with. Thanks for helping me snowboard. To my brother and his family, I think they watch sometimes INCRadio, so hi.
Nice. Yay, thank you so much, Bo. Thank you to everyone tuning in, and thank you as always, Brother Lester, for joining us here and sharing all your hobbies and things that you're interested in. I can't wait to see what you're going to be sharing next time. And then for everyone tuning in, let us know what you think next week's topic is going to be. It's another winter type sport, maybe some ice skating. And if you've been ice skating or want to learn more, tune into next week's show and let us know if you're interested. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly pass it off to Sister Hazel, who's going to be talking about some of our past and upcoming activities.
Hi, thank you, sister. This is Sister Hazel Valdez from the local of Everett. And last January 8th, the group worship service Port Angeles in the local of Kent celebrated their 28th year anniversary. So happy anniversary. Um, this yesterday, January 10th, it's already the 10th of January. It's so fast. The locals of Seattle and Oak Harbor, they had their year-end celebration. And then this morning, we had our district baptism in Seattle at 10 a.m. And then tomorrow will be our special gathering of all officers in the local of Seattle at 6 p.m. And on January 26th, hopefully, we'll see all of you there for our district family bowling competition. So, for more information on how to register, please contact your local leadership. And that is all I have. Back to you, sister.
Thank you so much, Sister Hazel. And thank you to everyone tuning in. We have our last greetings from Brother Rui Lopez. Says greetings from the Lopez family, hashtag Bellingham. Sister Rossi says hello to all the brethren in the District of Washington State, hashtag Everett. And Brother John Rodney says greetings from everyone, hashtag Tacoma. So thank you to everyone that was tuning in to today's show. And of course, we have our special thanks to Brother Eduardo B. Manalo, our Executive Minister, our Brother Angelo Manalo, our SEPSI President and CFO Coordinator, Brother Ramil Regino, our District Minister, Brother Relly Rivera, our Assistant District Minister, Brother Chris Valdez, our CFO Overseer, Brother Manley Andaya, our Executive Producer, and to everyone tuning in and to all of our INC Radio Tech crew here in Washington State and there in the Philippines, we thank you so much for all of your hard work. Thank you so much for tuning into INC Radio Seattle, and we'll see you again at the same time next week. Bye.